In today's episode of Solved Mysteries, we're going to be observing two different murder cases from America known as the Pokémon Go murders. What's interesting about these two cases is that both victims were last seen playing a very popular augmented reality mobile game known as Pokémon Go before meeting their unfortunate demise. And what's revolutionary about this particular game is that it incentivized a lot of players to go outside and allow them to use their smartphones to find and capture digital Pokémon monsters. However, despite safety warnings from the authorities urging players to be aware of their surroundings, there have been several injuries and fatalities connected to the game. So, who were these two Pokémon Go players that were murdered? Why were they murdered in the first place? Also, have the murderers been even captured? These are questions that we'll be answering as we dive deep into the clues of this case. Let's get into this case now. On the night of September 29, 2019, a 21-year-old girl named Kayla Campos was playing the game with her boyfriend Friday night around Bianchetti Park in Albuquerque. This was her routine every Friday, for her father, Carl Campos, said in an interview, quote, "It boggles my mind. Most 21-year-olds are out at clubs. My daughter is out playing Pokemon Go," end quote. But that seemingly innocuous pastime turned deadly for Miss Campos on Friday night as she drove along Granite Avenue while she and her boyfriend searched for Pokemon. Because just before midnight, Kayla Campos spotted two assailants trying to rob people in a nearby car. Upon witnessing the crime, Kayla immediately started to turn her car around when she saw that one of the robbers had a weapon. As she tried to drive away, several gunshots were fired into her car, with one of the shots hitting Kayla on her neck. The car then crashed into a nearby unoccupied home, and Kayla slowly died from the gunshot wound. According to the police, the two vehicles involved in the robbery were a red car, possibly a Ford Mustang, and a silver four-door sedan. Detectives have not heard from the robbery victims, but they said that they had received several tips and were pursuing leads. However, no arrests were made at the time. The Campos family was extremely devastated and immediately asked for help through various news outlets and social media platforms. Kayla Campos worked as a dental assistant at Parkway Dental in Albuquerque, and her father said that she had wanted to be an oral surgeon. He called her amazing and irreplaceable and said that since her death, thousands of people had reached out to him on social media in support. Carl Campos stated, quote, "No parent should have to bury a child. It's not right. We really need to do something about getting funding for these smaller cities to help fight the crime because it ain't going away," end quote. This news made huge headlines that it also caught the attention of Niantic Incorporated, which was the gaming startup company that teamed up with the Pokemon company to make Pokemon Go. In a statement, a spokesman for Niantic Incorporated said, quote, "We want to express our deepest condolences to Ms. Campos' family and friends at this terrible time," end quote. But despite the statement given from Niantic Incorporated, Pokemon Go players are still encouraged to use their own judgment about which parts of the city or countryside they feel safe going to at various times of day or night, for the killer still hasn't been caught at this moment. However, nearly a year after her murder, Albuquerque police eventually captured a 19-year-old male teenager named Isaiah Garcia and charged him with the murder of 21-year-old Kayla Campos. According to investigators, a 17-year-old Sandia High School student, Sean Markey, was at a homecoming party at a home in northeast Albuquerque on September 29, 2019. The documents mention that Isaiah Garcia has fired multiple gunshots outside that home, apparently intending to injure someone in retaliation for an incident that happened 3 years prior. But instead of shooting the intended victim, Garcia allegedly shot and killed Markey, who was standing near the scene. Witnesses told the police that the shooter, later identified as Garcia, drove a red Pontiac sedan, but no arrests were made at that time. But less than a month later, the documents also mentioned that a man in the same car was involved in the robbery and shooting of 21-year-old Kayla Campos. While the documents did not explicitly name Garcia as the suspect in that killing, it did say that a short-masked young man driving a red Pontiac sedan exited his car armed with a rifle and robbed young male victims parked in a car near Bianchetti Park. Garcia then proceeded to rob that group at gunpoint before firing his gun at a second car nearby, hitting and killing Campos, who was in the car with her boyfriend. When the investigators then came onto the scene, the neighbors within the area immediately told them that they knew the suspect and which house Garcia lived at on Granite Avenue. Then finally on Monday, September 30, police arrested Garcia at the same home in connection with the death of Marquis. Eventually, after the investigators connected the dots of the two crime scenes, a murder charge was later filed against Garcia for the shooting of Kayla Campos, and the Campos family finally got the answers they were searching for. News 13 later spoke with the Campos family after the murder charge was filed in the Campos case, and they said that they are relieved someone has been charged with their murder and can finally get closure. It's definitely unfortunate with what happened to Kayla on the night of September 29, 2019, but hearts and prayers go out to the Campos family, for they have lost a very loving and kind-hearted daughter who had aspirations of becoming a future dentist. May Kayla Campos rest in peace. On the night of January 26, 2017, a 60-year-old grandfather named Jishan Chen was playing Pokémon Go alone in a minivan at a community clubhouse parking lot in Chesapeake, Virginia. All was peaceful and he was capturing various Pokémon until suddenly a random security guard confronted him for trespassing and shot Chen 10 times, which 5 of the bullets actually hit him. The shooter and security guard in question was a man named Jonathan Cromwell. Cromwell turned himself in the evening of February 16, 2017, and was charged with second-degree murder of Jishan Chen use of firearm. But before turning himself in, the murder of Chen made huge headlines in Virginia that Riverwalk Community Association suspended and then later terminated their contract with Citywide Protection Services, which was the company that employed Jonathan Cromwell as a security guard for that area. On February 6, 2017, Andrew Sachs, an attorney representing Citywide Protection Services, held a news conference, and according to Sachs, Chen repeatedly attempted to hit the security guard with his blue minivan, and in response, the security guard fired in a reasonable fear for his life and safety. The evidence also confirmed that the victim had been in the same place 10 days earlier, and as specified by Sachs, was warned about the trespassing of the private property and instructed not to return on multiple occasions. However, this caused a public outcry from the Asian community, and more than 60 people protested in support of Chen outside Sachs' office in downtown Norfolk during the news conference. It was reported that Chen played Pokémon Go as a way to bond with his nieces, nephews, and grandchildren. But Greg Sandler, who is an attorney from Virginia that represented Chen's family, stated, quote, "Chen was playing Pokémon Go at the time when he was shot. Police said that the security guard fired through more than one of the van's windows. The security guard fired several shots through the side window and then moved to the front of the van and fired through the windshield." End quote. However, these accounts from Chen's attorney were later rebutted once Jonathan Cromwell's testimony was released on the news. It was stated by Cromwell's lawyer that Chen's vehicle was moving and Cromwell opened fire out of fear for his life after ordering Chen to stop, and these were his exact accounts. Chen's van first turned into the parking area of the Riverwalk Clubhouse on January 26, 2017, around 11 p.m. Then Mr. Cromwell confronted Mr. Chen by stopping his vehicle directly in front of Mr. Chen's. Refusing to stop, Mr. Chen backed up and then turned his vehicle around to the point that it was the entrance of the driveway facing Riverwalk Parkway when he was shot. Mr. Cromwell had exited his car and yelled out, "Stop!" before firing his weapon, hitting Chen once in his upper left arm and 4 times in his upper left chest. But the prosecutors were quick to deny Cromwell's claims due to 3 reasons. First reason was that according to the lawsuit, the security guard has a history of aggression who had previously drawn and brandished his weapon towards unarmed residents and guests of the Riverwalk neighborhood. It was claimed by other testimonies that he would go beyond the boundaries of his duties and use excessive force, which resulted in the previous employer to fire Cromwell. The second reason was that Cromwell carried a weapon when he was hired as an unarmed security guard. Cromwell had worked 2 months as a guard for Citywide Protection Services before the fateful encounter. But the Riverwalk Community Association stated that they only hired unarmed security guards to patrol the neighborhood, so it was unclear why Cromwell had a 9mm pistol with flashlight attachment and 17-round magazine. But according to Andrew Sachs, who represented Citywide Protection Services, stated, quote, "This was a para-police officer, a security guard licensed by the state permitted to carry a gun. He has statutory duty to protect people, make arrests, and it was in the line of that duty." End quote. And on top of that, Cromwell's lawyer argued that he had every right to confront Chen, who he said had been warned about trespassing on the clubhouse grounds 10 days before. But Chen's devastated brother told reporters that Chen couldn't speak any English except for the basic words like sorry or bye, insinuating that Chen did not understand the warnings prior, as well as Cromwell's demands. The third reason was the fact that Chen had his foot on the brakes. In the middle of the trial, a neighbor's security camera recording confirmed that Cromwell had told Chen to stop and put the car in park before he began shooting. But prosecutors pointed out to some inconsistencies in his account. He had told the detective that he yelled at least 10 to 15 times for Chen to stop, but the recording only showed him doing so 3 times before he started firing. In addition, Chen had his foot on the brakes when authorities arrived and found him dead inside the minivan, leading prosecutors to cast doubt on the security guard's claim that he was at risk of being run over. Additional testimony revealed that Cromwell was supposed to call the police when a situation seemed like this were to escalate, rather than use deadly force. But Cromwell did express remorse on the stand through tears, saying he felt the weight of his actions the night he fired and that he feels them now. The second-degree murder charge was later upgraded to first-degree murder in July 2017, and following the attorney switch, a judge granted Cromwell a 6-month continuance from his original trial date of September 26, 2017. Then on June 29, 2018, court records show that a jury trial was scheduled for February 19, 2019. A homicide detective who investigated the shooting testified in court on February 21, 2019 that, quote, Cromwell wanted to play a video of himself qualifying for a shooting certification, but the detective said he did not want to see it. End quote. Then Cromwell continued to ask, quote, "How was my grouping?" referring to the accuracy of the shots he had fired at Chen. Cromwell reportedly appeared in court wearing headphones every day since he was having trouble hearing the proceedings, which implied excessive shooting that can cause ear damage. But eventually on March 1st, 2019, a jury found Jonathan Cromwell guilty of second-degree murder and using a firearm to commit murder. And finally on June 24, 2019, a judge sentenced Cromwell to 30 years in prison. Attorney Sachs mentioned that they intend to appeal the conviction, but at the same time, Chen's family has also filed a $5.35 million wrongful death lawsuit against Cromwell, his employer, Citywide Protection Services, and the Riverwalk Community Association in the Virginia Beach Circuit Court. But overall, the deaths of Kayla Campos and Jishan Chen are truly tragic and depressing. It's terrifying how one simple encounter like Kayla, or even miscommunication like Shen, can lead to such dire consequences. But nevertheless, it really further teaches us that we should always be cautious of our surroundings and be aware of any danger that might lead to unnecessary harm, especially with playing a mobile game that makes you go outside the safety of your own home. So the next time you do go outside to play Pokémon Go, please do so with extreme caution, because you may never know what you may encounter. Hey guys and gals, this is Mr. Shin Ramen, and I just want to thank you for making it this far. Did you enjoy the video? If so, it would be greatly appreciated if you can leave a like on this video and subscribe to this channel for more future content. Till next time, stay safe and stay scared.